A very warm welcome to all of you to Self-Selection Board, our one step towards uniform. My name is Shubham Varshney. Today we are going to talk to CHETAN Kumar. His interview is going to help you in Indian Army, Navy, Air Force. TR CHETAN Kumar got recommended in SETEC 50. So most of you are getting confused. Right now SETEC 54 is going on. So that means that SETEC 50, this person was an academy or probably he got commissioned. So yes, the story is half true. This person got recommended and able to successfully join Academy OTA Chennai, and he got recommended in his sixth attempt. So we are going to talk about four things right now. So what are the four things? First, how he gets screened successfully. Why I'm saying that? See, he attempted SSB 6 times. In those 6 time attempt, he got screened out once, and all the rest of the time he got screened in successfully. Not only that, he was damn sure that he will get screened in, that he never booked a ticket just after the screening. He always booked a ticket of a train after conference. That was the level of his preparation. So the next thing I will talk about him, that what was there in his sixth attempt that make him recommended. So with after the conversation I come to know that he was so clear about the process that he is this time sure that he will get recommended. So I talk about the process, that what he come to know new about the process. Okay, now the third part will be the pounding heart. So most of you get fear in the screening time, that because of the nervousness you get fumble and you make a mistake. So how he get a control over the narration and GD while there's a pounding heart, heavy pounding heart. The last will be the part of his struggle which make him persistence and the patient, and how it helped him. Okay, so this whole video is specially dedicated to all the South Indian boys and girls who are inspiring to join Indian Armed Forces, because no video is available in English. So it is for them. So let's meet CHETAN Kumar and let's know about his journey of getting recommended. A very warm welcome, Chetan bhai. Thank you so much for giving us time.
I'm happy to be here, Shubham.
So Chetan bhai, first of all, right now SETEC 54 is going on, and you are from SETEC 50. You too have OT experience. So we're going to talk
Yeah.
about, but I'm amazed with your words you always put, that you are always sure that you're going to get screened in, even from direct entrance where the numbers is too high, 200,
Yeah.
300. How you are always so sure?
Okay. So Shubham, when it comes to the whole of SSB, right, it's about three assessors assessing you always, be it screening or be it the assessment post screening, right? So in all the three all the assessment that happens entirely, you're supposed to focus on one thing. That is, three people are supposed to say yes, you're fit, or they're supposed to have some sort of doubt that he might make a good officer or he might not make. As long as you know this basic funda, you are going to get in. Let me explain a little more in detail here when I say this, right? So the three assessors are basically your GTO, psych, and interviewing officer. Now look at it from a screening perspective. What time do they get to assess you? It's one, the story that you write; two, the way you narrate it; three, how you participate in a discussion. And you're looking at it from each of the assessors' perspective. The psychological officer is interested in how you're, weaving that story. Does it have some positive aspect to it? Are you adding some, actions to your story, and are those actions positive? Those kinds of things. The interviewing officer is interested in how confident you are when you're delivering whatever you're delivering. Are you honest? Are you doing it to the group and not to impress the interviewing officer or any of the assessors? That's what the interviewing officer is interested in. And the GTO is interested in how you behave as a part of a group, right? When you sit down for a discussion, are you behaving more like a sensible human being who is going out and having conversations, genuine conversations, where you want to listen to the other person as much as you want to put across your own views, or not, right? So as long as you know these three fundamental things, you're obviously going to get screened in, no matter how big the crowd is and how difficult it seems like.
Okay, so that sounds very clear in your head. But there in your sixth attempt, you are damn too sure that you're going to get recommended to. How's it possible?
Yeah. So in my sixth attempt, right? So one thing is, like I just said, you need to know that there are three assessors who will be assessing you, and each of them has to pick you, or at least someone of them should have some sort of doubt. If one of them says, no, I'm not going to pick this candidate, that means you're not going through to the SSB. And so each of these assessors, right, when you don't get to interact with all three of these assessors, you get to interact only with the interviewing officer and the GTO. The psych assessment happens behind your backs where you don't get to see what the other person's feedback is.
Now here we are going to take a little pause. Now here is going to say a golden word. Mr. Chetan is going to say golden words, what it is, that how the assessment is taken place and how he is making the surety. So please listen his words very, very carefully. Now let's go back to his words.
So when you have a GTO, there are certain aspects that tell you if the GTO is actually interested in going ahead and recommending you. One of the litmus tests being your command task, where the kind of task he gives you explains a lot about how confident he is about you solving that task, and how much he has faith in you, right? And the second person that you get to interact with is the interviewing officer. Just as much as he can see our body language, he's open to us and we can see his body language. And body language, right, is one very good way of communicating with people. And if you know that the interviewing officer is showing a very good positive body language at the end of your interview, not through the interview, not at the beginning, not midway, but at the end of the interview when he says, do you have any questions for me? That is a very positive sign that two assessors are now interested in you. So the third assessor, if he's not interested or has some sorts of doubt, they're going to come in and ask you some questions in the conference. Now, what happened in my conference, in where I was recommended, was I just walked in.
We will go to the conference part. Let be a little
Yeah,
suspense for a while. So before moving forward, I like to summarize the word of Chetan. So Chetan is like to say that personal interview and GTO get a chance to interact with you personally. So they resolve their all the doubts while you are in front of them. But a psychologist do not able to assess you because he just saw a paper. So, if the psychologist has any doubt, he cleared that doubt through the medium of interviewing officer in the conference. Let's move forward and understand him. PPDT first, then we will move. So,
yeah,
let's move a little ahead. So, if we just go to the screening part, first is a picture perception description test. So,
yeah,
there are blur kind of pictures are there. So, we have divided it into a three parts. The one is devastation, second is neutral, and third is some action.
yeah,
So in the devastation, we have just made some little changes and made it extremely negative. You have seen the picture and our viewers can see it right now. It's a place where lot of people of youth kind of age of our age 2025s are sitting and
mhm,
playing cards and a small boy is nearby, right? So
mhm.
how you able to manage to build a story like this, because I know that you do not play a cards, you do not even have experience to sitting with such kind of people. So how you make a story? Can you just guide us that how young fresher or repeaters can do it?
Okay, Shubham, when we look at the picture, right, it has got three adult characters playing cards and one of them smoking with a kid next to him. Okay, so in at least from an SSB perspective, I see a lot of candidates feel, that playing cards is a very wrong thing to be doing and something anti-social. But cards by itself is a very good game, which a lot of intellectual people prefer playing. There are a lot of games that you can play in card which help you improving your, skills of brain and how you have your memory and things like that. So playing cards should itself not be considered a wrong thing. Okay. But the wrong thing in the picture was the fact that a person was smoking next to a kid, right? So the story that went into my head the moment I saw this picture is, my hero has gone to his friend's house for a dinner with a couple of other friends. The friends are sitting down together and decide to play a game of cards, bridge specifically. So while they are playing bridge, one of the kid whose friend's house they are in, he pops in, and you see one of the friends also smoking at that point in time. So smoking in front of kids makes those kids learn such habits from us, correct? And that is a bad habit that the kid is likely to pick up. So what my hero does, who has been to his friend house, says the other friend not to smoke in front of the kid, because the hero feels that the kid could pick up this bad habit and it is a wrong thing to be doing in front of a kid. So he strongly says, the other person to not smoke. They have a slightly heated argument, but at the end of the argument, my hero manages to convince his friend to not smoke in front of the kid, and go out for a smoke break whenever he wants to smoke. So by doing this, I think with this I will end my story, right? Because it does two things essentially here. One, my hero is able to stop something wrong happen in front of a kid, and that kid is not going to learn that. Correct? That shows a lot of his, you know, positivity and the good that he's trying to be. And the second thing is, there is an argument that goes on between my hero and his friend, and at the end of the argument, my hero comes over as, the more assertive one, who manages to convince with logical reasoning and whatever he says to convince his friend. So he goes ahead and explains from an OLQ's perspective, right? It shows your adaptability and ability to convince people, group influencing, these sort of qualities. So now I have made a simple story which doesn't have any complications and is also taking a negative action and bringing out positive aspects from that negative action. Correct? So the psych officer who is going to have a look at it doesn't have any problem, because practically there is nothing wrong in the story that I told you. You cannot point out and say, hey, this is a wrong thing that you should be doing as an individual. Okay? So the psych officer is going to give you a clear there. After that, the next one would be the interviewing officer. So if you go ahead and confidently narrate, right? So let me just put out my story in a narrative format so that you get to know how it would look for an interviewing officer. Ram, who is aged about 29 years of age, goes to his friend's house for a dinner. And when he's at his friend's house playing cards, he sees one of his friends, Vijay, smoking in front of Sharat's kid. When Ram sees the kid around, Ram feels that the kid could learn something wrong from this, so asks Vijay to not smoke. There is an argument that happens between Vijay and Ram, and in the end, Ram manages to convince and ask Vijay to go out for a smoke break and come back and continue playing cards. By doing this, he avoided the kid from being around while the smoking was happening. Correct? That's a simple story. I finished it there. So I explained it pretty confidently, and I explained it like it is my story, not like I read it from somewhere. Correct? So the interviewing officer is now going to say, yeah, he has given a normal story, which is no issues for me. He has been pretty confident when he narrated. So 2 assessors have marked a yes for me. They are going to push me to the next stage. Now here comes the 3rd assessor, which is where 80 to 90% of the candidates go out, in my opinion. That is the GTO, or the discussion part. So what happens in a discussion is, I have my perception and my story based on whatever I understood. There would be 15 other candidates who would be giving possibly another 6 to 7 different variations of a story based on their perceptions. All right. There would be a common line between a lot of us. Most of us could highlight smoking. There could be few others who would highlight playing cards. The most important thing for anybody, including myself, to do in any discussion would be to listen. A lot of candidates don't listen, start shouting. They try to put forward their views only, and they try to sell their story. And that is not how you sell your story. You listen to the others, you take their story, add bits from your story to that, or listen to the overall group and pick the majority story and add bits and parts from the other story to that. When you do this, the other members of the group are going to listen to you and agree to the final story that you are going to go ahead and give, right? So once this happens, when you're discussing more like a sensible person instead of just shouting for the heck of it, the GTO is going to say, I am fine with this guy going in because he's being sensible. That is where most of the candidates get rejected, right? Because everyone wants to go. They think that if they're talking loud, if only their words are being heard, or if their story is only being sold, they're going to get screened in. Sometimes yes, but most of the times no, they get screened out. And till now, 7 SSBs, 6 screen-ins, never has my story been selected as the group story. That is my story, and that is how I get screened in, right? Because there are 3 assessors giving you a 3 yes for the next round to have a deeper assessment of you.
So, Chetan bhai, you have given the words which make the now defense assessment feel like invincible. So, right now, what is happening right now is that we are able to see you as invincible because the story you have made, but what is running behind your mind that made you such a logical, action oriented story? What is going on in your head?
Okay, so keep this in mind, right? What is asked for you over there when you sit down to write your PPDT there is an instruction given. You need to write a story. The story needs to have a past, a present, and a future. That is what led to the situation, what is happening, and what is the outcome of the situation. These are the three aspects you need to write in the story. And the instructor over there who gives you instructions also tells, try to keep this as much open as possible. Freely write your emotions, thoughts, and actions that come out. Go ahead and listen to the instruction and follow them strictly. You are going to write a story very similar to this. If not exactly the same, it is always going to be very similar to this. An action oriented story with a lot of free flow of your emotions and thoughts. Because I let my emotions run through freely here, what happened was, I saw something wrong, I said that it was wrong, and I ensured that wrong was not committed.
Okay, but if I just break your words in more minuscule details, then I like to say that in your story there is a three parts is there. The one is introduction, second action
Yes,
part, and third a conclusion where you
yes,
convince the guy to take a smoke break and go out, right? So in the introduction was very small, action was too large, so many actions were there, and the conclusion was again too small. So is there any particular strategy that you always follow this?
no, there isn't a particular pattern that you follow. Try, and like I just said, the instructions that the instructor gives is what you stick to, right? Try and give a free flow of emotions. There are stories where, the past or the introduction that you give is a little longer, and there are also stories where the central characters or the actions that you write is very large. Both of them are possible, but as long as you are letting your thoughts run freely and you're writing action oriented stories, it is all going to come out naturally, like the one that I just explained.
Okay, so I like to give a more deeper thought in those stat stories or PPNT stories. I like to present one new picture in front of you. You have seen it, and our viewers are seeing it right now. The picture is like a two middle-aged person are hugging each other, right? There's no much action is there, so no thought comes out. No past, no future is able to visible. Only present we able to see clearly in our mind. So what's now?
So when we look at this picture, right, we see that they're hugging each other, probably thinking something, correct?
Yeah.
A simple, clear thing. This is what we are seeing, right? When we go forward onto this, when I have to add a past to this, why are they hugging each other? That is what you write, right? So it could be possible because one of the two has felt some sorrow, and he's coming up to the second person and saying that, hey, I felt bad about something that happened. Okay. And now they are hugging each other, they're talking. So what happens next is the other person to whom the first person reached out, person A who was upset reached out to person B. Now person B will listen to that, go ahead and explain not to be upset about whatever the reason is, go ahead and convince him and make him happy. Now my central character becomes character B, and I also ensure that that sadness that character A had is moved out based on whatever character B tells and does with A.
Okay, Chetan bhai, but I like to do, I like to put a counter question over here. Don't you think that you have bring out the problem by yourself? In the picture, there's no problem is there. They are just simple hugging.
Yes, yes, absolutely, absolutely, not an issue on that, right? So if they are hugging, there should be some reason, right? The whole theme of a TAT or even an SRT, a story writing, is it has to have a past. If they are hugging, what is the reason for them to be doing that, right?
Okay.
You're applying your logic when you do this, right? You're giving some reason. It necessarily doesn't have to be a negative one, whatever it is, right? You give some reason. It could be possible that B has probably scored very good in some exam, comes out and says to A, and then A and B are very happy about it. It is my thinking, right? But at the end of that story, if you look at it, both A and B are happy, and one of them helps the other come out of whatever sadness they're in. Again, if you look at the other example that I gave, where there was a happy to the past, that B scored some good at some exam, comes and says A. Again, both of them are very happy, and at the end of the story are also very happy. So what is very important is that the end conclusion is that they come out happy, not
Okay.
necessary that the whole story is a happy story, right?
Okay. But over here, I like to ask you that what should be the label of a problem we put, right? See, what you did, I'm able to understand that just you put a minuscule label of a problem, that maybe he just score a good marks, right? But some people able to see maybe he did an accident or something wrong he did, or maybe the drasticness of that problem has been raised in the mind of the candidates. Many people do that, right? Because they have to make the stories.
Yes.
So is it right or wrong?
So here is what happens, right? When they try to show the drasticness, they show the actions of this negative character and miss out on the actions of the positive side.
Okay.
At the end of the day, you need to have a positive outcome, which is the end story, right? It is not the beginning or the mid of the story which needs to be positive. When you look at the overall, the ending is a happy ending. A lot of candidates, what they do is they show what they do in these negative situations and all the negative things they do in the negative situations. If you show off positive things that you do in the negative situation, it shows what kind of a person you are in such a negative situation, because all those actions. So the basic of any psychological assessment that we have in TAT specifically is that, the central character, whatever is there, the actions performed by those characters in the situations that they are, is describes the kind of person that you are in that kind of a situation. All right. So if we are to look at it, if someone puts a negative situation, it is not wrong. But if they are putting negative actions in a negative situation or even in a positive situation, it is a wrong thing. That is how you will behave in such a situation. Correct? And that is what they're trying to assess, what kind of person you are. Like, let's say I just gave you the example of scoring less in some less marks, something bad happened, let's assume it to be less marks, and my character feels very bad, goes into depression, then comes back and sits down with A, and A has to motivate that person to come out of depression. Then if, let's say, B is my central character and B is doing all these negative things, it is showing all the negative traits that I have. When I get, let's say, less marks, I go into depression and someone has to get me out of that depression, though I go ahead and approach someone. Now that's a positive side, right? Those negative activities that you do, the negative tasks that you do, show the kind of things that you do in generally. Whatever your character does is what you do.
Okay. So let's move to the third picture. We have a very good player right now. So in the third picture, there is no action is showing. The just a girl of 2025 of a R is sitting idly and wearing a western clothes, and it do not even seems like a girl of a like Indian girl. Now what to do?
Mhm.
You cannot be very clear right now, because in the earlier picture it's very clear that what is happening. Maybe there's some satisfaction, maybe some sorrow, but now here
Mhm.
it's unpredictable because there's no emotion on the face of a girl.
Yes. So that gives you more freedom to go ahead and express your emotion, correct? Because the person is just sitting there, could be doing anything, could be thinking of something, could be rehearsing something, could be planning something, right? Any of them could be happening, could be thinking about something that happened in the past, probably planning for some surprise for someone they like, or could also be, thinking of some sweet memories, correct? Anything could be happening there. So you take the freedom there. Generally what candidates do is they want to go ahead and write all these rosy pictures about someone in some deep depression, missing their family. Go ahead and write that, not an issue. But what do you do to overcome? Again, like I have been consistent on my stories, right? It's about what actions they do in such a situation. Whatever situation you put yourself in, as long as you're doing the right things in those situations, it is absolutely fine, right? Like, I will just give a story on this. So now, according to me, the candidate, the lady ABC, is probably missing her boyfriend because he has gone out on a business trip, and right, and she's starting to think a little about it because he frequently keeps going to business trips like this, and she feels left out and alone when this happens. Okay, so what she does is she picks up a hobby she has, tailoring or probably writing a book, writing, picks up that hobby, goes ahead and works on it. I will pick writing here because I personally am interested in it. So she picks up a hobby of writing, goes ahead and starts writing short blogs, short stories, and makes a collection of the short stories she writes and gets it published as a book. As a result, her book comes out well, and she's, devoid of that boredom she was going through all the while when her boyfriend was away. Once he comes back, she shares it with him, and both of them feel happy. Simple.
But how did you master it? You take some coaching, you did yourself. How did you get some ace in that?
Right. So, what I'm trying to say here is this, Shubham, that it's not a pure combination of, mentoring or just, learning on your own, right? You need to have a good amount of good mentoring, the right mentor. At the same time, the mentor can only do so much, that he can come in and give you feedback as to what areas you can change. And those areas, if you notice them in your day-to-day life and improve them, naturally they're all going to show up in these stories when you write them, right? Like there would be situations where a lot of us speak about not throwing plastic wrappers, not throw litter, not littering. We speak about this, but when it comes to real life, a lot of us just go ahead and litter because we don't find a bin, right? If you're capable enough to hold that litter with you till you find a bin, if you're capable enough to not spit on the road and hold yourself back, this was told to me by one of the SSB assessors. While I was in an SSB, right? The officer says this, you are an officer the moment you have come here for the assessment. It isn't something like just on the assessment ground that we are looking at you as an officer. You are an officer no matter where you go. You can't go ahead and pee in the public. You can't go ahead and spit on the roads, right? These subtle things that we speak of, when we do this in a real day-to-day life, it goes ahead and helps us. And for us to be able to identify these negatives or areas of improvement we need, we will have to have a mentor. And I think in that sense, right, uh, so in terms of trying to understand the person that I am and the shortcomings that I have, right, the psych test mastery actually helped me understand myself in a better way, look at my shortcomings, and go ahead and improve on those in my day-to-day life as well.
So if I break your words, you mean to say that first you have to put an officer-like attitude in your daily life. The question
Yes.
which we always see in the billboard, do you have it in you? You always put yourself in that situation, yes, in everyday life, whether it's a small, it's a big. Second, you get a mentor from Psych Test Mastery. Is it
Yes.
okay?
Yes.
Okay. So if we just move little ahead from it. So if I just make all the three picture blur, our viewers can see all the pictures blur right now, which all three we have discussed. So does it make any difference?
Not necessarily. I mean, so now I get more freedom to go ahead and add any number of characters that I want. All right. And I can put any emotions to those characters. The moment that I choose to do that, I can bring in a real life situation that I have already been through, that I feel was positive according to me, which had a very positive outcome. And the moment I do that, I write a very positive story which shows the positive actions I did in that story. That's a very good thing for me. This is what happens in your 12th story.
So Chetan, I just pick your two words right now. The two words, one is that you can choose emotion now by yourself, and the second, you can choose number of people as by your own wish. So you just take blurriness of the picture as your advantage.
So basically, when you look at the 12th picture, the reason it is blank is because you would have gone through a set of 11 images which would have been carefully planned to bring out your emotions. That is the purpose of those 11 images, so that all your emotions start running freely. And the 12th picture, when nothing is there, it's just your emotions and your true inner self that comes out, and you go ahead and write that. And like I said a little while ago, if you have been an officer like person in your life on a daily basis, where you keep yourself well groomed, you keep yourself very disciplined, you respect others, you walk around in a nice way, you have done this all through your life, the emotions that are going to come out on that blank page are going to be very genuinely officer like, and that is a reason for you to get in.
Okay, so right now you have cleared the that part, attitude part, but still, yeah, the situation became worst. Let me take you the situation to an ideal situation where what happens to the candidates, and it happens to me also. So when you go to narration, so there are 25
Yep.
candidates are there, three assessors are there. At the moment when the narration is coming out, I mean coming to us, the point where we have to speak out, our heart is going to pound very fast, very fast. So at that situation, I'm sure that it's happened to you. So what you do at time to make your heart calm down and speak?
Okay, so here's the thing, right? Like you just pointed out, it happens with me also, and it happens with all the 25 people over there. Your heart is beating very fast, and these kind of situations, they happen when you stand in front of an enemy with him facing his gun towards you and your men, and there are 60 men ready to die just because based on your command. Correct? All that you have to do is, with that heart pumping like that also, go ahead and do the right thing. Go ahead and be confident about your decision. Go ahead and speak your story out. Just be confident, speak it, because they're all nothing more than other human beings just like you.
So you every time ask your question, do you have it in you? And that's a soldier come
Yes,
out in your head and says, ki,
yes.
okay,
This is right. This is the thing that you're asked for, right? Do you have it in you? Is basically, can you, when your heart is pounding so fast, can you stay back there, hold your heart, even if it is, running so fast, hold yourself and do that confidently, whatever you're doing.
okay, okay, that's amazing. So that's a narration part over here. But the same pounding comes to GD. And you speak being a fourth and fifth speaker, not first, not second, not third. You speak
Yes,
almost at the last, where the chances that the GD is going to be over and you may do not get a chance. So your heart should be extremely pounding fast. Then again you put the same situation.
yes, right. No, more than that pounding fast, right? There is a task that we are supposed to focus on. The heart is going to keep pounding by itself. The task at place here is to listen to the others while they are speaking and go ahead and speak something valid. Focus on that. The heart is definitely going to go high. There's going to be high heartbeat till you get out of that GD room. It's going to be like that. It's going to take another minute or two after you walk out of that room. This is something every one of us experience, right? You walk into the room, you're all starting to have that high heartbeats. The whole GD happens. Your heart's still beating high. You're very high in adrenaline, and once you walk out 2 minutes later, you're calm. The only thing that you need to focus on is not the heart, is on what you're supposed to do. The task at hand is to listen, understand, and speak. Once you do this, the job is taken care of. Don't have to worry about the heart beating so hard or anything else happening there.
Okay, but I like to ask you one more difficult question. When you are in GD, when you are speaking, you are a fourth or fifth speaker, so you have control the heartbeat and you're ready to listen. But how do you speak? And what is the manner of speaking is there? How you logically put your point? Because many people speak there, but what's so
Yeah.
different in yours?
When I come in fourth or fifth or even sometimes sixth, right? There are already two or three guys who are dominating there, and they are the ones who are talking with each other. But there are also another 7 to 8 odd other candidates whose voices are being left out without being even heard, and they're trying too hard to speak. Probably their voice is not too high. Probably their theme is not very relevant. So what I do is, when I listen to everyone, right? One, there is generally a very common theme between almost everyone because we have all seen the same picture. Though the theme is same, there would be some deviations. Like in the example that I gave a little while ago, I told the guy smoking is wrong. Someone else could say the guy playing cards is wrong. Someone else could say the kid being there is wrong, right? So listen to these aspects and say that, yeah, the guys, we all agree to the fact that the guys over there are playing cards. Like someone said, the kid being there is wrong. Like a person B said, smoking is wrong. Like person C said, playing cards is wrong. Let's accept all these and try and build a story where there isn't a kid. They ask the kid to leave, they stop smoking, and instead of playing cards, they move to different game. Right now, basically, what I'm doing here is I'm being cooperative with rest of them while not letting go of the central theme, that is a group of friends have come together to meet and do something. So as
Okay,
long as I'm doing this, the rest of them are going to come in line with me and they're going to agree with me. They're not going to say, hey, he's wrong, because I'm saying something sensible, correct?
okay, okay. So the one part is missed over here. That is OIR part. So
Mhm.
you have seen that OIR ranking is also there in PIQ, and that
Yes.
OIR has been done in the stage one also. So what is the correlation in that, and what is the importance of it?
Okay. So if anyone has done a little bit of research on how OIR or how important OIR is to the overall screening, right? Uh, it is not the most important thing. The more important thing is the three assessors should say a yes for the next stage, correct? And based on if even if one of the three assessors says no, no matter how good your OAR is, you're not going in for stage two, right? So focus on the PP and DT first, and after that the OAR is, if you have, right, most of the people who have given an OAR know that it's a very simple test. It's nothing complicated. You can easily score at least a 75 to 80 plus with the two papers put together on any day. Anybody who hasn't had great knowledge, not necessary you have a very high aptitude, a normal average aptitude, you will easily comfortably score more than 75 to 80, and with three assessors saying yes, you will be walking through even with such low score.
Okay, but why in the PIQ the OIR is mentioned? Can you just put lights on that?
The OIR is basically to ensure that you have the aptitude required, because they don't want someone who is good at the other three aspects but the aptitude isn't there. Correct? The ability to solve those basic problems should be there. That is the only reason there is an OIR. That is why if you look at it, it's either basic logical reasoning, or it's slight picture oriented things, where are you able to understand these pictures, are you able to go ahead and perceive them the right way. That's all it is.
Okay, so moving forward to the second stage, we have already talked about the TAT, which is similar to PP and DT, but
Mhm.
a two parts still left of the second day is in the psychology is SRT and WET. If I just move
Yes.
with the SR first with the WET, so in the WET we have three words, and I just divide into three part, that is negative, positive, and neutral. The first
Yeah.
word, which is I like to put as negative, which is struggle. So the
Yes.
word struggle is extremely negative. Then how did you correlate and how do you frame a sentence in that?
Right. So the first way to correlate is, we all go through negative situations and come out of them in a positive way. That is how we are living our lives today, correct? So if you look at those negative words, you would have had that somewhere at some point in your life, and you would have learned something from that. Like you just gave me the word struggle, correct? So struggling helps me learn to stay persistent. I did not give up when I had struggles. I fought, I went on and stayed ahead, right? So the basic first sentence that's going to come into my head is struggle improves persistence. That's my character, right? There could be somebody else who has gone through struggle, and instead of their persistence, they have become a lot more patient. They could have become a lot more calm. They go ahead and write something like that, that negative word or that negative feeling would have brought in their life.
See, I understood that part that you get a knowledge from sectestmastery.com, but how did you practice it? Did you just rigorously do practice, or because it's I believe that it's as you said, for the struggle the persistence can come out, from struggle patience can come out. Okay, but in that 15 second it has to come out, right? Until unless you do not do
Yes,
practice
right?
cannot come out.
So do this, right? Try and relate every of those words to your own life, because this whole assessment is about your personality. This is what I did, right? Because when I did a lot of this research that I did, I realized this: the whole assessment is about what kind of a person you have been for the last 20-25 years. Because if you have been an ABC kind of a person, you're not going to change overnight that personality that you have developed for 25 years. So look at your life. That gives you all the answers that you need for even your VAT, right? Within 15 seconds, just think of some situation that could correlate with the word over there. You speak of love, the first thing that comes into any one of our head: mother. Some passion that you have for the word passion itself, something that you like, right? You go ahead and relate it to something that is there in your life. You'll get a sentence within 15 seconds. That is not always necessarily a grammatically correct sentence, but as long as it's putting out your emotions, I feel it should be fine.
Okay, but I mean put you in a more difficult situation right now. If I just put a word which do not give you a correlation with your life, like example loyal. Loyal word give an correlation with a dog. Dog is a loyal animal. But how will you correlate with such a neutral word with your life?
Right, so that is dog is a loyal animal is something that your life has taught you, right? For me, loyal friends make your life happy.
Okay. Okay.
Something that I have experienced, right? This is what comes out as your personality. What you have been through and what I have been through are two different things, correct?
Okay. Okay. So we have talked about negative, we have talked about neutral, but there are something about which is little more positive, which is we call just for example word is mood. Now, mood do
Mhm.
not specify any correlation with the past. If you have a girlfriend, then you realize
Yes.
that mood is that if the girl has a period, do not talk to her. Okay, that's because
Yes.
the tense situation right now. But how you gonna put mood in right now this in the sentence frame for SSB?
Write what you want it to be, right? Like staying in a positive mood keeps you healthy, keeps you fit,
Okay, that's how it is.
right? You don't have to. Again, if you have noticed the pattern in the three words that you asked me and the three things that I told you, it's again relating it to my life, right? Do I keep myself positive? How do I keep myself happy? Where do I use mood? I keep my mood to be happy so that I'm more healthy and I'm doing things that I need to be doing. You
See,
need to relate that in a fraction of a second and do it very quickly. Don't think too
okay,
much.
okay. So if we go little ahead, then we move a little deeper in SRT right now. So right now viewers can see the SRT, and I'm first going to explain. I mean, speak the SRT and later going to explain. And please give insight of it. So first SRT is his brother had decided to marry a girl whose nature is not good. So what this SRT is saying that he know that his brother is going to marry, but the girl is not good. That guy
Mhm.
know, that younger brother or elder brother know. So this is a relationship, situation. And that's a,
Yeah.
जिसे हम कहते हैं प्यार अंधा होता है, the love is blind. Now how are you
Yeah.
going to convince your brother?
Okay. You said the thing for me, right? Your brother is not going to listen and he's not going to get convinced. So what is the only way that you can get him convinced? Get some proof.
Okay.
Get some proof. Simple. Because you gave the question and the answer to me here. He's not listening and he won't believe your words. The only way that he's going to believe is if you give him some material proof. Get that from somewhere. Your friends could have it, or her friends could have it from somewhere, because you know she's bad from some material proof only. Otherwise, you also don't know she's bad. Correct?
Okay.
Yeah, I was just saying, get that proof, give it to your brother. Your brother will also believe you.
Okay. But how do you write this in a sentence form? Because we have 60
Yeah,
sentences.
yeah.
Yeah.
You have to attend 60 SRTs over there, right? So he gets physical proof from one of his friends, shows it to his brother, convinces him not to marry her.
Okay. So can I ask you one more deeper question? What is the importance of grammar? You tell about the in wet SR. I mean, the grammar is not that important. Okay, just the meaning of the sentence is important. Then how
Yes.
important the grammar over here is?
Okay, so when I say that you need to convey your message and grammar is not so important, please don't take me wrong. You need to be able to communicate. The other person reading should be able to understand, not just that you feel the other person will understand, right? As long as your English is sensible, we as Indians, we have a lot of grammatical differences that we use from the standard British English that is there, or even American English. So as long we don't have to be those perfect British or American English, but if we are making sense for the other person, he's able to understand that immediately in the right context that we are trying to speak it out, it's absolutely fine.
Okay, so I'm moving ahead to the next SRT. So the next SRT is, our viewers can see right now on the screen, when he is returning from his college. On the way, he saw some boys are molesting his sister. So he dash. So let me explain it. So the guy is returning from the college and some boys are molesting, right, his sister. So what that guy is going to do? So normally we have a generation of social media. We like to post those things as like molest or as something like happen. But right now his own sister is there in that situation.
Yes.
If that
Yes.
person do not have a guts for other sister to protect, I'm sure that
Mhm.
guy do not have a guts to save his own sister also.
Okay, Shubham, on this SRT, right, I would first like to share this. Something similar happened with me, except that the girl who was being molested was not my sister. It was a random passerby, right? I was going on a bike in the night time with my father. I see a girl and a boy being molested by a group of people. And unfortunately, neither the girl nor the guy could speak the local language, and the guys who were molesting were speaking local language, and they had come in a car. Now you just told that we see a lot of people taking photos when something like this is happening, all that. I did that thing first. Took a photo of those people molesting there, and they were with a car. I took a photo of that. The next thing I did was I intervened there because I could speak the local language, stop those people, and I first shouted at this guy who was with the girl and asked him to leave immediately from there because he had a girl with him. Walk out from there. The meanwhile, I shouted at these other guys and asked them to leave in their car. Okay. Once these guys moved out, I took my vehicle, went ahead, stopped in front of those girls and guys, shared that photo with them, and asked them to give a police complaint because I also had a car number on the photo now. Right? The moment this happened, now they could go to the police and give a complaint, and at the same time ensure the girl was safe there. Because they could have gone ahead and picked an argument and made it a bigger fight. All that they had to do was send those guys off from there and then complain on those guys to the right authorities, because Those guys, there were 5 or 6 in number, but this person was just one individual. He could have been beaten back and thrashed down very easily. You can go ahead and argue that, yeah, what if beaten back, I will fight back. Yes, you can definitely try that. But in my opinion, at that situation, the more logical thing to do was to send these guys off, because I was a single man there and there was another person with me. Instead of getting beaten up, I could have just send them off, send these guys off. I have a proof of these guys misbehaving along with their vehicle numbers. Now go ahead and give a complaint to the police and ensure that these guys don't repeat it. This is what I did.
So, Chetan, we understand this, but that's a huge response. Like it's you take almost a 1 minute to explain this thing, but you have to write this
Yeah.
thing. Now, this is the one challenge. Now, how you gonna
Yeah.
write?
Okay. So if I have to write this, right, cut it down simpler and make it short. Say this, that he intervenes, uh, confronts those guys, aggressively asks them to move away, and asks his sister to leave, has a photo of that, and leaves from the place, goes to the police station, gives a complaint. Simple.
Okay, so that's what in 30 seconds. So, if we move to the third SRT, that is generally his neighbor after having a liquor come late at night and start disturbing him and his parents. So what the SRT is saying is that neighbor come late in the night with having some
Yes.
drink and he disturbs your family, right? So what that guy is going to do? Normally people avoid it.
Yeah, and again, right, let me highlight this. This was something that I had been through personally, and let me say, a lot of these situations that come in SRT, right, they are mostly things that would have happened with us here and there somewhere in our life. And this is something that I used to face in my locality. There used to be a bunch of people, neighbors, all friends, who used to drink, come in and party late night and shout and trouble a lot of people. So something that we did the next day morning, meet those guys, gather them around after seeing having enough of it, sit down with them and explain to them that it's causing trouble and there are kids around, so you need to start respecting it. Try and explain it to them. At least in my locality, it worked out once we started explaining them. If it doesn't work to that extent, go ahead and then file a police complaint, or at least ask the police to come around on a visit at that time when they make a lot of noise there, right? So due to the fear of the police, they don't come around. And if I had to write this in a response in under 30 seconds, uh, ask them to leave that night. The next morning, go to their home and speak to them and ask them not to repeat such things. If they are still continuing, complain to the police and ask them to come on visits at late nights to your locality, so that they ensure vigilance and this thing. You don't have to write this part of ensure vigilance and all that. You just say, finish your response at saying, ask the police to come on rounds at your locality.
Okay, Chetan, but I like to ask you more in deeper. The thing is like, how do you practice those things? Because it seems like that you are rigorously practiced. So did you do a time test with SRT, wet and tat, or you just samajh gaye, or I just understood and just going to write in the exam hall?
Okay, there are two aspects to this, Shubham. First one is relating, again, like I have been telling all through my discussion with you, it's about relating all this to your real life scenarios. Like I just said, I just compared two of your SRTs to what happened in my real life, right? It's about comparing them. And second is phrasing all of those into a 30-second possible statement, correct? So this 30-second statement, you can't go ahead and write every detailed action. When I say detailed action, he goes ahead and does this and does that and does this. You can't write all that, right? You need to remember this, and this is one thing you need to practice, to write the key action points in bullet form. You don't have to write it in bullet form there. If you have noticed my responses, right, my 30-second responses, like in the case of the girl being molested, he confronts them. That's the first action he does. Sends the girl away. Second action he does. Takes a photo. Third action he does. Gives a complaint to the police. Fourth action he does. So there are 4 actions, and I'm just writing the 4 action points without adding any participles. I mean, grammatically advanced things where I go ahead and try and elaborate it. Try not to elaborate it too much over there. This is something you need to practice. You need to write some SRTs. You need to write and try and see, so that you reduce your time there. That's when you can improve. So you need to practice for the SRT. This is my opinion, because not everyone has the skill of writing to the point and writing just the actions. So if you have that skill set, you don't need the practice. Otherwise, you'll have to practice on how to write this thing to improve your timing there, right?
Okay. So Chetan, if I'm not wrong, that you get a feedback from psychtestmastery.com that do not write such a long sentence which you just explained. Am I right?
Yes, exactly. That is that, like I just told you a little while ago, right? I needed a mentor who could go ahead and help me understand my shortcomings. This was one of the shortcomings that they helped me improve.
Okay, so we have talked about TAT, WET, SRT, but the main thing
Yeah.
which also left over right now here is SD, self-description. So I want to know what
Yes.
is the connection of SD with all those three tests, TAT, WET, SRT, and plus how to write it.
So in all the three assessors assessment, all right, all the three assessors have something known as an identification and a confirmatory. And after this confirmatory, they just verify that their overall assessment has been correct. Okay. In the psych assessment, the identification happens through your TAT, where you write your stories, and the actions that your hero does gives out your personality traits, and they confirm it based on your VAT and your SRT. If your hero is actually responding that way, that character that you have put out in your TAT and SRT, right? That's verified. Whatever you write in TAT is verified in SRT and VAT. Now, after that verification is done, the SD it's basically to see how much you have understood yourself, and whatever you have understood, is that very similar to whatever the kind of person that you are. So because the basic idea is this, right, that if you are someone who knows the kind of person you are, it is easier to change yourself and adapt yourself to different situations. So from that perspective, they go ahead and see if you have written, or if you think that you know the kind of person you are, and if the whole assessment that they have done, that this is the kind of person we want, he already knows what he is, right? So he's also flexible. Apart from being this whole OLQ and officer that we want, he's also a little flexible. That is why SD comes into the play.
Okay, so I break your words. Then you are saying that like there is identification and then confirmatory. So that is the one main test. Then from there they take a confirmation from WET and SRT. And if there is little more
Yes.
confirmation is there needed, then they choose SD, right?
Yes.
Okay, so up to here we have talked about the psych. Then I like to move over here to GTO. Same identification and conformity test happen in GTO also according to you, right?
Yes.
So what it is?
Okay. So in the GTO, right, the identification series happens in a group completely. So all the group tasks that you have, namely the two GDs, you have a group planning exercise, then you have the snake race and the PGT. These are the four primary group tasks that you have, where you have the whole group with you and you perform, right? So the GD, like I just mentioned for the screening also, the GTO is interested in seeing if you are a sensible person who can work in a team, right? If you're listening to people and putting in very valid points after listening to people. So he's going to observe you a lot in your two GDs as to how you're doing that, right? The people who do this more sensible thing are going to start becoming his picks for assessment. There could be 3 or 4 guys that he wants to assess. He's going to start picking them from there. Once you go into GPE, the group planning exercise, it shows your application of logic and using of resources that you've got, because all of you have 10 people in a team, or whatever the SSB group is, right? Those many number of resources are allocated to all of you, and how effectively you use them to solve your problems. That starts highlighting more of your ability to go ahead and solve the problems in a group with the resources that are available to you. So he starts identifying you as a leader and a possible military leader, right? So he starts identifying you in these two tasks. And once you go into the snake race or the PGT, it shows how well you're on field gelling with the team, right? And in these two tasks, specifically the snake race and the PGT, you also have guys who are overly aggressive and who do not gel well with the rest of the team, right? So that acts as uh, a precursor for that assessor to go ahead and say, he's not going to be gelling well with a team if I put him in a new team. So he's going to be a little, I wouldn't say negligent to them, but he would prefer the other guys who gel well with the others, and he would look at them when he does those individual assessment. That's how they are also placed, right? So after these 4 tasks are done, he identifies the set of guys that he wants to focus on, right? Now the next thing he does is divide the group into 2 halves. He generally asks the candidate as to how he wants the group to be divided, in odd even, or in terms of first half and second half, or randomly. He gives us this option, and based on his preferences, right, the 3 or 4 guys he wants to assess further, he will make the group accordingly based on his interest. If 2 guys in one group and another 2 guys in another group, so however he wants it, he's going to split that accordingly, so that there isn't that over aggressiveness or over passiveness in that group. He balances out, and then begins the HGT, where the guys he would want to focus on, he starts focusing on them. So now he has earlier identified them as possible leaders who would gel well with teams and go ahead and do well. Now he starts seeing them do the same thing in HGT. And after HGT, you give a lecturate where you sit down and you stand up there and you speak, right? So on the lecturate, you again go ahead and speak on a topic for 4 minutes. You're supposed to speak there as a leader. He has identified you as a leader in a group earlier. Now he wants to confirm that you are able to speak there as a leader in front of a group of people that you don't know for the past so many days who come in front of you. Speak in front of them with confidence and about a topic that you don't know, you have just been given. In all fairness, everyone gets 3 minutes to prepare and then you speak. Correct? So that shows your leadership skills, your ability to go ahead and speak and lead men in front when they are in front of you, right? And they could be any new men that have come in front, and you're doing it very confidently. That's where he's confirming all those qualities he would have identified in the group tasks. And after this, he's going to have your individual obstacle where you'll be running around tasks, and he'll again look for your ability to logically do these tasks instead of simply running around between a 10 pointer and 9 pointer if they are placed opposite to each other. Doesn't make sense when you're running from a 10 pointer to a 9 pointer and then you go to an 8 pointer and you're not able to finish the 10 tasks in 3 minutes. Says that you're doing things inefficiently for him. So these are going to be key parameters he's going to make note of if you are a candidate that he's assessing. He's going to discuss this with other assessors when he goes into a conference. So there he's confirming all those initial things that he picked up from the group. He's confirming it in the individual obstacle where he has that stamina. He's going to run around. He's going to have that ability to plan things, organize things. Like I just said in GP, is he able to be resourceful? Is he able to plan things? Same thing comes out in individual obstacle. Are you able to do it in a planned manner? Go ahead and complete all those 10 tasks in 3 minutes. That is what he's interested in, right? Once that happens, you're given the command task. Now, command task is basically to see if you really have the brains that is required, correct? And I call this, and also a lot of assessors call this, a litmus test to see if you are actually, a pick of that GTO. So if we talk of the PGT and the command task, you have helping materials given to you. Generally, it's 3. In odd cases, you are also given 4 helping materials. So the expectation is that if you are given if you are to use all the 3 helping materials to go ahead and solve the task, it is a very difficult task. And if the GTO is interested in you, he either gives you a task where you will have to use all the 4 helping materials, or if you're using just 2 also, the GTO makes it more and more complicated for you as you solve the task, right? It acts as a litmus test for you, and you know that, yes, the assessor is interested in me. That is why he's making it do to me, right? So once this command task is completed, he has the litmus test also done. So he's confirmed, he's picked his guys from the group. He's confirmed that these are the guys that I want to recommend, 1 or 2 or 3, and he goes ahead and picks them. Now you have the FGT after this whole set is done, where he puts the whole group back together, 10 of you are back, and he's just verifying whatever perception he built about this candidates that he would have picked, and sees them going ahead and leading from the front in the FGT, and that acts as a confirmation for him once again. Like just the SD is for the psych test, the FGT happens for the GT over here.
Okay, right now my viewers are extremely surprised that how the Shubham Varshney is right now silent, because normally it do not happen. Normally it's a fiery question. So that's amazing knowledge you have. But how did you have such a great clarity of this SSB process? How do you get from?
Right. So most of my knowledge, right, I tried learning a lot of things, went on the internet, went on to a lot of online forums, and met a lot of assessors there, spoke to them, and learned a little bit. But the bigger picture came to me when I purchased these online SSB video tutorials by Commander Natarajan, right? When I started seeing those tutorials, if you look at the GTO series that he has over there also, he explains all this in great depth, so you'll get to know over there. And I personally interacted with him, and he again gave the same feedback as what was mentioned on his video series. So helped me learn a lot about the whole process and how it is done, and where I could focus on and where I should be doing what I should be doing.
Okay, I like to ask one more thing. I heard from your words that you said that you also get a chance to interact with Commander Natarajan sir also. Means
Yes. Yes, so I'm not sure if they still offer those services, but when I started, we were given this opportunity to interact with him, and I've been in touch with him after that also. He's a wonderful person to be in touch with, and great learning from him.
Okay, let me break. You were saying that you just buy the video course. Now you, for
Yes,
your queries, you are also interacting with directly to Commander Rajan sir.
yes, yes.
Okay, that's good. That's, I think that's been very lucky, or either you somehow become a very favorite. Okay. Okay, but I like to put some fiery question over here with your knowledge of GTO right now. So in
Okay.
lecture, four topics are given. The label is like highest, little low, and lowest, right? So
Yes.
many defense aspirants have a query in their head that suppose we do not get an idea or any thought about any of the topic. Is it possible?
Mhm. First thing is the like you said, right? There are four topics: the highest, then there are two moderate, and then there is one very least level of topic. The least level of topic is generally based on your personal self, your life, your hobbies, your favorite book, your idol, these kind of things, right? If you don't have an idea about speaking about this, I'm sorry, but honestly, you should rework on yourself. Go ahead and try to understand yourself first, and then go back to an SSB, right? Uh, and the two other topics that I speak of moderately, right? Those are general topics that would be happening in the recent news. So any candidate who's following any news that's happening recently should be able to go ahead and build some decent content on it for at least 2.5 to 3 minutes, right? And go ahead and speak. The tough one, however, is generally for those people who are really high in intellect. They have studied a lot, they know a lot. And let me be honest with you, the SSB is not interested in those people who just know the high level things, right? You need to know something about that's happening. The SSB is interested in picking the average candidate and not just the intelligent ones or the super intellectual ones. So as long as you're good with the average topics, right? If you're following the current affairs that are happening, you should be able to speak on three topics, if not all the four.
Okay, so I like to ask one more counter question. So people believe like that, as you said, that it doesn't matter that you choose highest topic or whether lowest topic. It doesn't matter. It's just want how intellectual you are, right? So what kind of presentation is expecting in the lecture because you are showing individual performance there.
Yes, yes, right. So the ideal expectation from you is that you're able to pick the topic, articulate it, like you have 3 minutes. You can put it across in any way that you want to. You can go ahead and randomly speak random things that you know about that topic, or you could sit down and organize that whole topic into various aspects, like an introductory part, and then what's a couple of subparts of that topic, and what those subparts mean, right? By the time you speak this much, you're done with 2.5 minutes, right? And once you do this, you go ahead and conclude the whole, agenda of you speaking on that topic. If you're doing that, you're organizing your whole speech. Now again, like I said, right, the identification and confirmatory, this is a confirmatory test that happens. In the identification, the GTO could have seen you going ahead and organizing things in a very good manner. This is that place where you can go ahead and show to him again that you're an organized person, where you're doing things in an organized manner, and you can replicate it in a confident manner.
Okay, but right now our viewers able to understand English, but they have a very big problem to speak English. No one come from their mother's womb that how to speak English. So how did you generate that fluency in English?
Like you said, right, nobody comes out of a mother's womb, and we as Indians, we're all used to our mother tongue's influence a lot, correct? So the only way that you can go ahead and break that barrier and come up is build a habit of reading, right? Read and try to understand new words that you don't know. When you do that, you're going to learn English naturally. That is how you build any language, right? You read that language, you speak in that language, or you watch movies in that language, you watch videos in that language. You build your understanding of that language and you pick it up.
Okay, so if we little more forward, then I like to clear one myth also. See, you are from South India, right?
Yes.
So what happened in the South Indian minds is that the army is not for them, only for North Indians. So is it right or wrong? Because now you are a recommended candidate.
Yes, yes. So I'll be honest with you on that, right? To a certain extent, yes, a lot of South Indian people do think so, but not everyone, right? Uh, in fact, in my house, my parents were against the idea of me joining the army. They were for me joining the Air Force or the Navy, or contrary to the army, right? But the thing is this, right? It is more because as a culture, South Indians aren't exposed to too much of that fighting and war, contrary to the North Indians, because most of North India, the region ranging from Kashmir down till Rajasthan, it has constantly been under war since from the medieval ages, right, where there were old kings who used to attack India, and that was the first point of contact that they used to have with India. So that region itself is like that, where people over there mostly want to join the services. They see it as a very noble profession. Unlike in the south of India, it is seen more as a noble profession where you get to serve the country, but then they're not ready to die immediately because there isn't an obvious reason immediately. Once we start reading about our history, right, which happens in a lot of intellectual families, and that is why you would see a lot of South Indians who come in are intellectually very good. And once they start reading and getting to know about our history, even South Indians don't hesitate to go ahead and join the army and want to be there. I want to highlight this part of Karnataka, right? There is a part of Karnataka called Coorg, where every family in that region, right, believes in sending at least one member into the services because they believe in serving the nation. They have a big pride if any one of their family member is in the army, and a lot of family members are generally in army for that. If I have to name a couple of generals, Field Marshal K.M. Karyappa as well as Timmaya, General Timmaya, both of these were from Coorg of Karnataka, right? In that region, it's considered a big pride. And this is south of India that I'm speaking about. So it's basically the culture that is different from north and south, because the sort of fights that we have fought here has been more on the navy and with the oceans than on the borders. That is why we prefer the navy or the air force, unlike the army.
Okay, but in your case, the war is not the inspiration. Your keen words were
Yes.
the selfless service of Indian Army and the camaraderie. Those who do not know the
Yes.
meaning of camaraderie means that friendliness or that family nature that a soldier and officer have that make a great bond, right? If I just complete
Yes.
the line in one sentences, know your men better than their mothers, right?
Yes.
So what
Yes.
that's inspiring came in your thought in the early days. What was that?
Right. So here's the thing, right? I have been someone who's been with family, but heard from a lot of my friends who have stayed in hostels and away from their families that, you know, you don't understand the pain of not having a family with you, right? And when I have to relate that to an army context, most of our troops are away from their family for most part of the year, right? I always had this urge to, be that one person they could walk up to and share their emotions with. This was what I wanted to be with my friends. And when I looked at army, I thought I could do this for the nation, where there are troops who could walk out, and I wanted to be that man where my troops could walk up to me and say, "Saab, mujhe bura lag raha aaj, par aap ho to hum dekh lenge." That was what I wanted, right? And fortunately or unfortunately, yes, I got in, but again, I had this injury which did not allow me to continue. Uh, but definitely, yes, right. There were Jawans that I interacted during my stay. There were people who were below officer level ranks that I interacted a lot of them, and I felt a sense of pride when they did not like the fact that I was
Chetan,
living based on
I
medical.
like to stop you over here. Let's little go more deeper about that situation. You got recommended
Yeah,
from SE Tech 50, right now SE Tech 54 is going on, right? So that year
yeah,
was around 2017. You got
yeah,
recommended aeronautical branch with the blessing of the God, with the blessing of your family. You reached to the Chennai, join the
yeah,
academy. Okay, so let's first the that Sahab has said you what you're seeing in the seas. Some says board, some say right. So what is
yes.
exactly? Just tell us what was the journey
Okay.
that part.
So here's the situation, right? We all land at the railway station, and we're all being escorted into the academy in the army bus. We're all sitting in there. We're all these civilian guys sitting in there. A couple of army brats in there, and our drill instructor is in the bus, and we are passing by the sea, and our instructor points towards the beach and says, the drill instructor, right? Kitno ko wahan pe naw dikh raha hai? Then the two army brats who were there in the group immediately raised their hands, and most of us sensed something fishy, and we're all still looking at him in all that puzzled manner. क्या बोल रहे साहब? Then दिख नहीं रहा है तुम लोगों को? कितनों का दिख रहा है now वहां पे? And immediately, without thinking much, we all raise our hands, right? And there is still one or two odd guys who are not raising their hands. Then the Saab looks at them. Now दिख जाएगा अभी academy पहुंचते ही, right?
Okay.
So we are basically, right, those very drill instructors, they break us down, they take away that ego from us, that I am great or I have achieved something. They break that out of us. They make us into a polished person. I'm out of the army, but still a lot of those lessons that I learned there, thanks to my drill sabs there.
So right now I like to put the hold on the words of T.R. Chetan Kumar. So we will right now talk about SC Tech entry merit list. So what happened in the merit list of SC Tech entry? So no one get merit out. This is the final words of T.R. Chetan Kumar. He is not able to put because of audio problem. So I am putting on his behalf. So as you can see, there are 175 seats. But if you see the merit list of SC Tech 53, so it come to the half when the people on the merit list are there. So the number of people who get merit in was 55. So rest of the seats were empty. So no one get ever merit out. And my words are only applicable to men entry. But your question mark is there. There are some places where the seats are very less. For example, architecture 3, production 3, 8, 12 over here. So what happened to those people? And T.R. Chetan Kumar was from aeronautical branch. So what happened? So what happened, as I say you, the seats were half. So no seats were remain are left out. And these vacancies, if you read the notification, are set tentative. Means it can be changed on the name of the merit list, right? So when the merit list come out, because the large number of vacancies are empty, so they take in all the people, even if there the seats were filled. Like in architecture, 3 seats are filled and rest of the branches were empty, they will put in that. Because after joining academy, what happened, you have an option to join infantry, mechanized infantry, and other non-technical branches also. Therefore you get this opportunity to join even after your seats has been filled. Like there are 3 seats are there in architecture. If it is filled, even then they will take you in. Okay, that's I think clear right now. Now what happened to T.R. Chetan Kumar? He's a commission officer right now? No, he's not a commission officer. He actually faced a problem in OTA Academy, that was collapsed intervertebral disc, and he had to left the academy that moment. And he was in a senior term, so it was a sad moment. But as the life goes on, he has taken a decision that he will come out from the academy and pursue his career in a sales engineering. So right now we have talked about GTO, screening, psychological test, and right now personal interview and conference is left. So we are going to talk about these two things in detail with Commander Sudarshan Chakrapani. He was a naval board interviewing officer. With that, we also going to take interview of Colonel Pradeep Walia. Both these interview will going to be come out soon. I'm going to update you with the date on my channel. So be updated with us. Stay tuned with us. Now let's talk about the technical question which is asked in TGC and SC Tech entry. For that, I have put a link in the description box of this video. You can see that this is mainly dedicated to mechanical, automobile, aeronautical engineers plus other branches engineers also. So all the question which going to be asked to you will be a googly question. What I mean to say, for example, you are a CS student. So they will ask you simple question, why we prefer C++, Java over other many languages. So you must be able to tell. You can't say because this company use it. You can't say these kind of things, right? Or he just maybe ask you on what platform Android is built. These are the simple questions. Or he can ask you what is the difference between computer science student and IT student, because they both work in the same industry. That can be asked. They all will be the googly questions, so you must be aware of those questions. So just think, whenever you just study hard about technical question, make sure that whatever you prepare must have googly question in that. If there is no googly question, then the preparation is vain. They're not going to ask you very difficult term about, they are not going to ask you difficult terms like Hadoop, why the Hadoop is increasing, what about the data science, and all these stuffs will not be asked. They ask you the googly questions. So whether you have a civil branch, you have aeronautical branch, you have any other branch, biotechnology or anything, they are going to ask you simple question. So that's how the technical question was going to be asked. So I like to say you that if you like our content, then please do support us by doing some payment to us of minimum rupees 100. That motivate us to build such more content free available to you, that with a very minuscule charge. This playlist help many of the defense aspirants to prepare for SSB, because India's relationships are in SSB. This link is also in description box. You can check it, and please do support us financially. My UPI ID is this, and the QR code is available in front of you. I take you leave. For any message for me, put hashtag Varshney and comment in the comment box. Jai Hind. Take care. Bye bye.